you, member of the press, and then it will be followed by question and answers, where we'll be giving more details, because we cannot make a press statement that will be too long to listen to. So most of the details will be in questions and answers. So having said that, my fellow Liberians, my fellow Nimbayans, members of the press, as the current mineral development in 2030, it is my solemn duty as Senator of the people of Nimba to speak clearly, without fear, about the glaring failure of Arcelormittal in honoring both the letter and spirit of its obligation. I issued this statement to address critical concerns regarding Arcelormittal Liberia's failure to comply with key provisions of the amended Mineral Development Agreement of 2007. Since the inception of the NDA, the people of Nimba, especially those directly affected in the directly affected concession area, have waited in vain for meaningful improvement in their lives, while AML has continued its lucrative mining operations and boasting of $1.4 billion infrastructure expansion aimed at upgrading its oil before export, while our people continue to endure substandard living conditions and broken premises. The following are unequivocal breaches of the Mineral Development Agreement and undelivered social corporate responsibility by AML. 1. Failure to improve the lives of people within the concession area. AML has failed to improve the socio-economic conditions of communities within its operational footprint. Despite being in Nimba for more than 2 decades, the people in and around Ikepa live without basic amenities and face hardship, contradicting the expectation of shared benefits from natural resource extraction. The company has made little effort to restore and upgrade housing facilities in Ikepa, leaving our once beautiful town dilapidated and lying in ruins, while billions are taken from its soil. This neglect is a betrayal of hopes of thousands who expected decent housing and modern community infrastructure in and around the concession area. 3. The blatant disregard for Liberia's senior management inclusion and the failure to meet 50% of senior management quota by MDA. This is a clear violation of Article 10 of the 2007 amendment. Article 10 of the amended MDA clearly stipulates that within 5 years, by 2012, 25% of the management position should be held by Liberians. Within 10 years, by 2017, that number should increase by 50%. And within 1 year, by 2008, AML was required under Article 10 to appoint a Liberian to one of the top 3 positions of AML, which are the Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Financial Officer, and the Chief Operating Officer. Today, AML top 3 executives remain foreign, with no Liberian occupying that position, in gross contradiction of Article 10 of the MDA. The CEO is a South African, Marco van der Meer. The Chief Operating Officer is Anthony Coken, an Australian. The Chief Financial Officer is Conan O'Brien, the British. This should have taken place. One Liberian should be serving in one of these positions, since 2012, 2017, up to now. This is not just a breach of contract. It is a slap in the face and gross disregard to the professional Liberians that we have. The framers of the MDA intentionally specified that a Liberian must occupy one of these decision-making roles. AML refusal to comply demonstrates blatant disregard for the laws of Liberia and the empowerment of our citizens. On the senior management level, below the executive level, which is defined as those who directly report to the CEO, there are 19 positions in total. According to the agreement, by 2017, 50% of these roles should have been held by Liberians. Today, as of the date of this press conference, only 42 out of the 19, 42%, which is 8 out of the 19, are held by Liberians. Worst of it all, AMLs continue to employ foreigners in roles where Liberians are fully qualified and capable, including the Chief Information Officer, foreign, the Chief Position Officer, foreign, Security Risk Advisor, foreign, and Chief of Staff to the CEO. Mid-level positions that are also supposed to be occupied by Liberians. And we are not met the 50% quota, but yet we are at 42%. These are all senior management positions that Liberians are more qualified to handle. Even more egregious, AML employs foreigners in mid-level technical roles, such as truck maintenance, foreman, welding supervisor, among others, who report to Liberians. If Liberians are competent enough to supervise people in those roles, why are these roles not held by other Liberians? 4. Violation of scholarship funding obligation under Article 9 of the 2007 Amendment. Article 9 of the amended MDA explicitly mandates Arcelormittal to provide an annual sum of $200,000 United States dollars for advanced scholarship for qualified Liberian citizens abroad. This obligation was to commence immediately after the 2007 amendment, meaning Liberia should have received $3.6 million over the past 18 years for that scholarship program. In AML's own 2022 report to the National Investment Commission, it admits that payments only began in 2012 instead of 2007. That's a key point. 5 years late. This is unacceptable. While we acknowledge AML contribution in vocational training in Ikepa and Bikena, scholarship funding is not a favor from AML. It is a legal obligation under the AML. We demand full accountability and restitution of the missing funds from the $3.6 million in scholarship fund to date. 5. So-called $1.4 billion infrastructure that is not real. The much talk about $1.4 billion iron ore plant is not an investment for Liberia, and I maintain that, as it can be dismantled at any point in time by AML if it wishes to do so. Unlike the one built by Mita in Brazil and other countries, which are made of steel and concrete, the one built in Nimba is made of prefab irons with screw meant to stay just for the duration of AML investment. It can be dismantled at any time. Thereby, it disqualifies that infrastructure as an investment for Liberia, but more of a value-added instrument to make AML richer, since, in fact, the labor cost in Liberia to operate that plant would be far more cheaper than what AML is doing right now in Europe. The cost of that plant was also exaggerated. It was exaggerated by AML, as the original BAQ, viewed by sources privileged to us, is that that plant cost no more than $550 million instead of $1.4 billion. Again, an example of AML overstatement of expenditure to avoid paying proper taxes and dividends to the people of Nimba in Liberia. Doesn't even make sense, even if it were worth $1.4 billion, for an investment to be placed in a filthy area with no roads leading to. Number 6, transfer pricing. Transfer pricing has been one of the main reasons for lack of dividend. Arcelormittal uses the strategy of transfer pricing to to avoid declaring profit from which Liberia could benefit dividend as per the MDA. We have raised this concern that on many occasions the company has been engaging in transfer pricing practices that result in under-reporting of profit to Liberia. This involves setting the price of goods and services provided to related entities at the levels that do not reflect market value, thereby reducing the reported profit in Liberia and subsequently the dividends owed to the government under the MDA. In light of these sustained failure, ladies and gentlemen of the press, my fellow Nimbayans and Liberians, we strongly recommend that the government of Liberia through the IMCC, the Interministerial Committee on Concession, to take the demands of the people of Nimba and Liberia very seriously, as previously outlined in many of our communication and press statements of the past, subsequent to the following. The pavement of the road from Saniguri to Yukepa become a binding line item within any MDA. That the AMF increase the social development funds to Nimba County and the 2 other affected counties. That the AMF sees the construction of containers in Yukepa in favor of renovating the housing units in Yukepa. Enforce a non-negotiable